Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Young and Restless is building to something big between Sharon and Daniel. Phyllis has landed in the middle of Billy's chaos, and Victoria is set to make a move that may put a target on her relationship. Here's a look at what's happened and what's coming up. If it wasn't already clear, the demons in Sharon's head, one in particular named Cameron, are urging her to kill Daniel Romalotti. In what may be a case of Sharon being on the wrong meds, she has wrongly come to believe that ending his life will finally bring her some peace. As we all know, plans like this tend to go awry, so I'd expect her attempt on his life to backfire in some way, and for someone other than Daniel to get hurt. Perhaps Heather, perhaps Lucy. Having no idea the extent of the danger her family has landed in due to Sharon's psychosis, Phyllis has turned her attention to being Billy's right hand, which just might earn her a right hook. Picking up from the Friday cliffhanger, in which Billy confronted Adam, it's clear we're headed to fistfight junction, with Red Riding to the rescue. I'm not opposed to the drama, but Billy and Adam fighting over Chelsea holds little appeal storyline-wise. Billy's other big problem is Victor coming for Abbott Chancellor. Last we saw Victoria, she left her father's office in a huff after announcing that she was going to protect her family. Victor, correctly, guessed that she was off to alert Billy as to his plans. What I don't understand is what she's going to tell him that he hasn't already figured out. I suppose she will confirm his suspicions that Lily sold him out to Victor by telling him about the Odyssey 7 deal, but it's unclear how that will help him. One would assume the Odyssey 7 guy isn't going to go against Victor Newman and move forward with the deal regardless. I found myself rooting for Billy and Phyllis to prevail in this story, simply because Victor always coming out on top when he's bullying gets tiresome. In related, the writers really did a number on poor Lily in this story, didn't they? Are we really to believe that everyone can see the issue with her plan except her? As for Victoria, going against Victor is a risky move, no matter who makes it. Will he retaliate by trying to mess up her relationship with Cole? So far, he hasn't had much luck as the mild-mannered suitor has stood his ground. But Victor has his ways, and his need to strike back is legendary. Kyle and Claire are falling for one another, but I remain disappointed by the Disney-esque writing of Claire. This person, after all she's been through, would simply not be chirpy and cheerful 24/7. It also makes the pairing with the worldly thrice-married Kyle feel uneven and unrealistic. Perhaps it's by design. So Claire undergoes a more dramatic transformation, when things inevitably go wrong, and she goes dark once again. The opinions expressed are my own. Please feel free to use the comment section to weigh in on this week's Young and Restless. Sharon had always been the kind of person who meticulously planned every detail of her life. From her morning routine, coffee brewed just so, toast perfectly golden, to her long-term aspirations, she was a woman with a plan. But on that fateful Thursday, she found herself sitting in her car, gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled intensity, plotting something that made her stomach churn. Daniel had been her husband for 5 years, and in that time, she had watched him transform from a charming partner into a toxic presence. The jokes he once made had turned cruel, his laughter was now a sneer, and his neglect had become emotional warfare. After years of tolerating his dismissiveness and betrayal, Sharon had reached her breaking point. She could no longer play the part of the dutiful wife. In her mind, she had crafted countless scenarios of revenge, each one more elaborate than the last. A simple divorce had crossed her mind, but that felt inadequate. She wanted Daniel to feel the weight of his actions, to understand the pain he had inflicted on her. That's when the idea struck. She could make him think he was in danger. It would be a thrill, a twist, a way to turn the tables. As she sat in the parking lot of a rundown diner, where they had shared countless meals, she decided on her plan. The diner was the perfect backdrop, an inconspicuous location where no one would suspect anything. She would stage an accident. Nothing too drastic, just enough to send a message. Sharon took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she envisioned the scene. She would call Daniel and suggest they meet for dinner, an olive branch of sorts. He would arrive, smug and self-assured, completely unaware of what she had in store. She would pour him a drink, an old-fashioned, his favorite, but laced with just enough to make him dizzy, disoriented, perhaps even a little scared. It was a small step, just enough to shake him out of his arrogance. The more she thought about it, the more exhilarated she became. The feeling of control was intoxicating. She imagined his reaction, the look of confusion on his face when he realized he underestimated her. This would be the turning point, the moment when Sharon took back her power. As the clock inched towards 6, she made the call. His voice dripped with condescension as he answered. "What do you want, Sharon? Can't you see I'm busy?" "Just wanted to see you," she replied, injecting a casual tone into her voice. "Thought we could catch up over dinner." "My treat." "Fine, just this once." He relented, his tone begrudging but curious. "Where?" "Yeah, I remember." He hung up, and Sharon felt a shiver of anticipation run down her spine. The diner was exactly as she remembered, a faded establishment with flickering neon lights and booths that had seen better days. As she walked in, she scanned the room, her heart racing as she spotted Daniel sitting at their usual booth. He looked up, a lazy grin spreading across his face that made her skin crawl. "Look who finally decided to show," he said, as she slid into the booth opposite him. "Just wanted to make sure everything was perfect for you," Sharon replied, her voice smooth, betraying none of her inner turmoil. They exchanged small talk, the kind that used to come easily but now felt forced. She felt the tension building with each passing moment. It was time. "Would you like a drink?" she asked, feigning sweetness. As she walked to the bar, she could feel the weight of her decision bearing down on her. The bartender, a grizzled man with kind eyes, prepared the drink. Sharon's hands trembled slightly as she slipped the small vial into her pocket, ready to mix in the contents just before serving it to Daniel. "Here you go," she said, returning to the table, her heart racing. The drink sparkled in the dim light, a deceptive beauty. "Just the way you like it." Daniel lifted the glass, taking a sip and then nodding approvingly. "You know me too well." She forced a smile, her insides churning. They chatted for a while, but Sharon's mind was elsewhere, fixated on the drink that would lead to her moment of reckoning. Then, as the minutes passed and the cocktail was nearly finished, she watched as Daniel began to squint, his brow furrowing. "Just the usual," Sharon replied, trying to maintain an innocent facade. "Are you feeling okay?" "Yeah, just a little dizzy." His voice was tinged with confusion, and for a moment, Sharon felt a pang of guilt. This wasn't who she was. But then, she recalled the night spent alone, the tears shed over his betrayal, and the hollow laughter that haunted her. No, this was who she needed to be, a woman who would no longer be a victim. Suddenly, Daniel's expression shifted from confusion to alarm. "What did you do?" Her heart raced as she watched him begin to panic, his hands shaking on the table. "Nothing, I swear. Just relax." In that moment, the exhilaration she had felt began to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of dread. The once thrilling plan had devolved into chaos. "Stop," she shouted, feeling tears well up as the weight of her actions hit her. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." Daniel stumbled out of the booth, knocking over the table as he struggled to regain his balance. The bartender rushed over, concern etched across his face. "What's going on?" he demanded. The world around her blurred, and suddenly she was overwhelmed with the realization of what she had almost done. In her attempt to reclaim her power, she had nearly crossed a line she could never return from. Daniel looked at her, confusion mixed with fear, and for the first time, she saw not the man who had tormented her, but a human being, a man who was scared, just like she had been for so long. In that moment of clarity, Sharon reached out, grabbing his arm. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I'm so sorry." As Daniel's expression softened, she knew they were both standing on a precipice, one that could lead to healing or destruction. And as they both realized the fragility of their situation, a single thought echoed in Sharon's mind. Sometimes, the greatest victory is not in vengeance, but in the courage to let go.